Well, when you are deep into Halloween like I am, you not only dress for the month, like my pumpkin orange sweater, you also accessorize with Halloween themed accessories. If you want to find out how to make the bat and a little ghostie, keep watching. Hello and welcome to A Killer Kitsch Lizzie, my weird little world where I like to knit and sew and do crafty things, especially when they're themed for Halloween. So yes, don't worry, all the videos are not going to be crafty tutorials. There's only the two, I promise. But when I was making the pincushion, I thought about how cute it would be as an actual brooch, but I also thought, wouldn't it be fun to also have like a couple of other Halloween themed brooches? So as Bunty is wearing, has a ghost on. I'm wearing the bat. I have another ghostie here. One ghost is smaller than the other, not on purpose, but when I was doing my the tests for the tutorial, the ones that I made initially, like both the voodoo doll and the ghost, one of the ghosts came out. The test came out bigger than the actual one in the end. So just a heads up, if you want to actually make the ghost or the bat bigger, there will be a PDF over on Patreon, and in that PDF is going to be the template for you to cut out for the brooches. And if you decide that you want them bigger or smaller, you can just when you go to print in the print function, you just either make the thing larger or smaller, up to you. So yes, and like the full instructions, as I said, will also be over on Patreon. I am giving you the full instructions as I do the video, but occasionally some people do need it also written out for them on a piece of paper. It just, make sure you don't miss a step or whatever, and the materials will be listed on there as well. So you don't have to take notes if you don't want to during the video. Yeah, so I chat a little bit in the video about things like, I like to do during Halloween, as well as I, walk you through how to do just the ghost. I didn't do also do the bat because I don't want the tutorials to be super long. And the process to make the bat is exactly the same as making the ghost. The only thing I did neglect to mention for the bat was after you've made it, you can adorn it with I'll put a photo up, a close-up photo of this. Adorn it with in my case I put beads on it. You could do embroidery, just so it looks like it has like eyes and feet. You don't have to do it because it does look like an actual bat. I know sometimes when you do felt projects that you have to actually do a couple extra things on it so people understand what it is. In this case, the bat looks like a bat. So the ghost looks like a ghost, but I embroidered a mouth and some eyes on it just for fun, right? So that is completely up to you. You don't have to do that. It's an extra step, but yeah, I just forgot to mention about the beading on the bat. So again, totally up to you. But without further ado, because I know you want to get on to making the ghost and the bat, here's the step-by-step tutorial. All right, so we are going to do the tutorial now for the ghostie and the bat brooches. I'm only going to do the ghost because the steps are exactly the same for both, so there's no point doing, here, let me just put that there so you can see that. There's no point doing the tutorial twice. So, but I will go through the materials you need for everything. For the These cute little Halloween brooches. You're so cute. Anyways, so what you're going to need is you're going to need felt. Whatever color you're doing your ghost and your bat in. Bats can be brown or gray or whatever, pink, whatever you want. Same with the ghost, can be whatever color. And then, so you're going to need felt, matching threads. Throw those over to the side. Scissors to cut out your fabric. Embroidery floss, although you don't have to use embroidery floss, you can also use like regular thread. It's just that this is just thicker. You'll have to sew more stitches with this if you're using just a regular sewing thread. You're going to need a sewing needle. You're going to need brooch back or backs, depending how many you're making. Some kind of stuffing. You don't have to use this stuff. You can use whatever you have around. If you got like scrap bits of yarn, scrap bits of fabric, whatever. You can fill it with whatever you like. There will be templates, which, un momento, which you will find over on Patreon. So there's one for the ghost, one for the bat. So you will cut out your templates, and once you have done that, you're going to cut out 2 pieces of the felt. And I like, you don't have to do this, but I personally, when I sew, you'll see, when I sew the pin back on to the back of the brooch, I like to cover with another piece of felt and then stitch that down. It just looks less messy. That's just me. And you're going to do that for both the bat and the ghost. So that's the fabrics that you need for that. I'm just going to set the bat one aside because we're, like I said, we're just going to do the one, and the ghost is just going to show up better on the black felt I have here. So the template here has little eyes and a nose on it. I have those on there. Just, you don't have to do this. It's just that it makes it look more like a ghost. If you do, it just sort of gives you a random idea of where to position the eyes and the nose. Though mine don't completely line up, it just gives you sort of an idea. So this is going to be fairly quick. So just to save on time, I've gone ahead and I already embroidered on the eyes and the nose. So that's the very first thing you're going to do. It just makes it easier than trying to embroider that on after you've completed stuffing everything and sewing it up. So yeah, I suggest you go ahead and do that now. Just embroider that on. You will it will make your life easier later. So go ahead and do that, and when you're done that, go ahead and pause, and when you're done that, come back and we'll do the next step. Alrighty, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the 2 pieces. We're going to pin them, place them together, and then I just like to stick 1 or 2 pins in just to keep it from sliding around when you're sewing. Though it's not really going to slide too much because felt will grip onto itself. Okay, so, and I'm using the Voodoo pin cushion. So what I suggest is you sew up like around about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance around here, and then when you get down to like that part, just leave that part open because we're going to put the filling in there. And I did, as with the voodoo doll, for both the bat and the ghost, I did try to sew it up and then turn it inside out so that the seam is on the inside, and it just doesn't have the same shape as with this. Now, that said, if you did a bigger ghost with bigger arms and a bit of a bigger tail, you could do that and then turn it inside out and stuff it. But with the stitches on the outside, it still looks very, very cute. So it doesn't look messy or anything. If you do a nice clean straight stitch around the whole thing, like take your time, don't rush. It actually looks quite nice. So the bat as well. And it gives it a bit of definition. I don't know if you can see it there. And it gives it a bit of definition as well. So that all being said, go ahead and sew and then leave like about a 2-inch opening right here. So let's go do that. And when we come back, I'm going to talk to you about putting the batting in, the stuffing or the whatever, filling, whatever you want to call it. Okay, let's go sew. Okay, so I'm just continuing to sew around here. And I'll stop when I get down here somewhere. So this time of year, I don't know if anybody else enjoys doing this or not, but well, I do it more than just this for the month of October, but I love going on ghost walks. Now, I live in the city of Toronto, and we're very fortunate that we actually have quite a few historians that actually do ghost walks. So ones I've been on a long time ago, these two people don't really do them anymore. One does just historical walks, and yeah, I don't think he does ghost walks anymore, but one of them is Richard Finds Clinton. So if you're in Toronto, look him up. He does more, I think, now again, I could be misquoting this, but I believe right now he only does Fort York walks, and then he is a curator at a local museum. Like, not local to where I live, but like in Toronto. And he used to be in the museum down the street from me, but he has since moved to a different one. And then Bruce Bell, who I think the early 2000s was the last time I went on one of his walks, but he still does them. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. He does amazing walks. He's a historian too. Yeah, but I just haven't been on that one. And then there is what's that group called? The Toronto Ghost Walk. I think they started out in Kingston, I believe. And they do ghost walks now in Kingston, Toronto, Ottawa, I think. Might be wrong on that one, and Hamilton. And we also used to do a lot of, haven't done this in like a very long time, but we would go to haunts. So, professional ones, there's still a bunch in Toronto that do it. But also enthusiasts, right? They would do front yard haunts, but they would be these massive haunts though. They would like even go into their garage, like it was it was a maze kind of thing, right? And they would start setting up weeks before, like building it, setting it up weeks before the season, right? So these are die-hard independent events, and usually what happens is they ask for a donation and they'll like donate to hospitals or youth organizations or something. Like there's always, the entry fee is always donated. So, and there used to be a lot of them, and then there are still a few out there, don't get me wrong, you just have to look for them, but there used to be so many more before COVID happened. And then yeah, also they've been doing them for a long time too. I think maybe after a while, the amount of work is just not worth it for them, right? Or just too hard, maybe. Okay, so I have now sewed this up and I have an opening here. So I'm going to take the filling, stuffing, batting, whatever you want to call it, And we're going to, like the voodoo doll, we're going to put that in there. And again, like the voodoo doll, you're going to want to pack it in tight. Not as much as the pincushion, because the pincushion, the reasoning for packing it so tight was so that the pins had somewhere to go. But you also want this to have like a 3D, look 3D, right? You can, you know what, you can do it flat if you want. If you are going to do it flat so it's not flopping around, although felt doesn't really flop around very much, you could like stick a piece of cardboard or a piece of Bristol board or a piece of plastic in between the two pieces just to give it a little more structure. Up to you, because not everyone has, you know, this or extra fabric laying around, or doesn't want to go buy extra stuff. You know, you want this to be a very fast and fun project, right? You don't want to stress out over it or like worry about, probably a little bit too much, or worry about going and buying like a bunch of something that you're only going to use for one project. This as an example, right? Because like that's the smallest bag this is the smallest bag I can find, and there's quite a bit in here. Kind of like thinking now I should have just used something else to stuff these things with, but I actually have a Christmas idea for something, a project, so some of the batting will get used for that, but yeah, I mean, I could have just used, I always keep my yarn scraps for this reason. Could have just used that, but oh well, I wanted to see what would happen when I did this, right? So okay, I think that's enough now. Yeah, and then just sew it up. Close it up. So I'm gonna do that now. So yeah, back to the ghost walks. Do you go on them? Do you watch scary movies? Like, is there something special you do at Halloween that you maybe only do at Halloween? Like I said, I go on ghost walks, not just at Halloween. Oh, I also have a friend who does, I'll put links to all this stuff if they're available in the Patreon blog post. My friend Chantel does what's called the Toronto Cemetery Walk. And yeah, that's good. And she's been doing that for ages. I can't remember how long now. And she does Necropolis and there's another one. I've forgotten the name of the other cemetery. It's near-ish to Necropolis. And yeah, so she does, well, she's kind of seasonal. Like, you know, she doesn't do the cemetery walks in the wintertime. I don't blame her. I wouldn't want to go on a cemetery walk in the frigid wind chills that we get here. But, you know, she does summer and, of course, you know, fall ones. And she also, Mount Pleasant, it's Mount Pleasant Cemetery. And she's been doing history walks for them too. You know, there are some very well-known women who are buried in both Necropolis and Mount Pleasant. So she does history walks about that, other things. So I will link her information below if you're in Toronto or visiting Toronto, you know, during the times that she does her walks. I highly, highly recommend that you go on them, as well as Bruce Bell and Richard Finds Clinton and the Toronto Ghost Walk. And then there's also, you know, other seasonal stuff that happens, like neighborhoods around here will also do ghost walks. High Park, which is what I live fairly close to in Toronto. I'm sure other parks do as well. High Park, now I haven't noticed if they've done an invite for this year, but they also do a ghost walk in participation with Colburn Lodge, I believe, which is the museum in the park. I think they're done for the season, but the High Park Nature Center does do bat walks, but I don't think they do it once. Well, they can't really do it once it gets too cold because bats here in southern Ontario, well, in Canada, once the weather gets cold, they hibernate. So I think this time of year you're not going to be seeing too many bats flying around. I mean, though, I gotta tell you, once again this year it's been quite hot. I mean, right today it's very overcast. It's been raining off and on all day, and then we'll have like a really hot day, and then yeah, so the heat of summer gets extended. Anyways, so my bat is sewn up. Again, it's a little smaller than, which is fine, than my test one. And actually, to be honest, because they're two different sizes, I could wear them at the same time. It doesn't look, well, although I could wear them at the same time no matter what. Okay, so next you're going to turn over your ghost and you're going to sew the pin back onto there. Now, I have an extra piece of fabric, as I mentioned, that I'm going to then sew on top of the pin back just to cover it up, because I don't like seeing the messy stitches, which often happen when we sew these up. Now, the other thing, and this is completely up to you, you could actually sew the pin back on before you sew this ghost up. It's totally up to you. But the reason I didn't do it was I find it just is in the way for me when I'm sewing the ghost pieces together, and also you have to open, for me anyways, it just makes it easier if you open the pin part up to sew it on, and if that comes undone while you're sewing up the rest of the ghost, you're gonna probably get the pin jammed into your hand. So that's why I like to wait and do it last, but again, 100% up to you. You don't have to, oh, now it's all tangled. You don't have to do that. I also find, yeah, like I'm having an issue right now. I do find that the thread gets tangled in the coil. Let's turn it sideways and see if that's better. And then, well, in this case, the pin is, the one I'm using is quite long, so I centered it into the back of the ghost, and if you have a smaller one, I would put it a little higher on the ghost, or you could center it, up to you. You do whatever it is going to work for you. Also, if you don't have a pin back, again, I have a bunch of these because I've done a bunch of brooches, and for other things, I do resin ones, that kind of thing. So I have quite a few different sizes of pin backs, but if you, again, I want these crafts to be sustainable when possible. Actually, I'm not gonna do that. I want these to be sustainable as possible. So if you only have a large safety pin around, use a large safety pin. You don't have to go out and buy things just to do this craft. Okay, and then next I'm just going to sew sorry. There we go. I'm trying not to jam this into my thumb. I know I should be using a thimble. I hate thimbles. I have a weird thing about thimbles. I know there's ones that are, I guess, open-ended. I don't know, maybe I could try that, but for hand stitching you really should use a thimble, because I know I jam the needle into my thumb or fingers continually. But the reason I don't have a thimble is because I think they're kind of gross. And 100% will not use somebody else's thimble or buy a secondhand one. If I'm going to use a thimble, it's going to be brand new. It's just a weird thing that I have. I know some people are like thinking that's okay, that is weird, but it's just a thing for me. I just don't like thimbles. Now, that said, I do like the ones that are painted beautifully, but as decoration, right? Like it's not, I'm not going to use those to sew. I just feel like they get gross inside. Anybody else have an issue with thimbles, or is it just me? Is it just a me thing? You know, the another thing I don't like is I won't wear other people's shoes. I won't buy used shoes. But that's more for like a foot health thing, because shoes, when you wear them, they start to kind of mold to the shape of your foot, and if you wear somebody else's shoes like that have been worn for a long time, you could possibly hurt your foot. So, or end up with like plantar fasciitis or something from like, you know, wearing somebody else's shoes for a long time because they've already been molded to that person's foot, right? I know, it's a weird thing. It's a me thing. All right, so that's done. And hopefully you can see that how, you know, it tidies up the back when you just stitch that on. Same with the bat. It just hides the messy stitches of the pin back. And there we go. We have a ghostie and a bat. Well, I'm back. So, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you found it easy to follow. I would love it if you made the bat or the ghost, or even you can take the voodoo doll pincushion and shrink it down if you want, and you could also make a brooch with that. That's the tutorial before this one. And yeah, I mean, if you make them, please tag me on whatever socials you are on, as well as if you comment below, you can let me know if you've made it. You know, let me know below some of the things that you like to do during Halloween. Also, what costume you're making. Are you going out trick-or-treating? Because there is adult trick-or-treating. Or if you're going with your kids or your grandkids or your nieces or your nephews, let me know. We like to go on Halloween. We actually go around our neighborhood. Well, the days leading up to and Halloween, actually. Our neighborhood is really amazing with decorations. And we have I've talked about this in other videos, I think probably last year maybe. There is a house which we call the Halloween house, but at Christmas it's the Christmas house because the husband, well, the wife too, but mostly the husband, they go all out like decorating. It's a massive old Edwardian with a huge corner lot yard, and they have so many amazing decorations, animatronics, smoke machines, music, spooky sounds. Like it's just it is the highlight, not just for the neighborhood, but people come from all over the city to go see this house. It's beyond amazing. Anyway, and just the neighborhood alone. And then there's a street party on Halloween Eve, a street over from us, that it is mostly, they block off, I think, 2 blocks. It's mostly meant for safe trick-or-treating for the children in the area. Well, not just the area. Again, kids come from all over the city to go to this street party. But it is meant for safe safe trick-or-treating because, you know, as grown up, one of the rules trick-or-treating, you have to be in a costume where somebody who's driving by can see you. And because these 2 blocks are cordoned off for the evening, there's no vehicles driving up and down that street. So that part of the street anyway. So yeah. So we do that and a bunch of other things. So let me know what your plans are. Well, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment below, nice comments only, please, and subscribe. I would love it if you were part of Killer Kitchlesy. That would be amazing. So until next time, stay scary and stay kitschy. Bye!